sit you hallelujah. Girl, sit you hallelujah. Cause Uptown Funk don't give it to you. Cause Uptown Funk don't give it to you. Cause Uptown Funk don't give it to you. Saturday night and we in the spot. Don't believe me, just watch. Come on. Don't believe me, just watch. 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 Hey, 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 oh! Before we leave, let me tell y'all a little something. Uptown, funk you up. Uptown, funk you up. Uptown, funk you up. Uptown, funk you up. I said uptown, funk you up. Uptown, funk you up. Uptown, funk you up. Uptown, funk you up. Come on, dance, jump on it. If you said and flown it. If you freak dead and own it. Don't brag about it, come show me. Come on, dance, jump on it. If you said and flown it. Well, it's Saturday night and we in the spot. Don't believe me, just watch. Come on. Don't believe me, just watch. 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 Hey, 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 oh!
How you doing? Good evening, or good afternoon if you're in a different time zone, which would be totally awesome, which means we're broadcasting all over the world. My name is Al Emmerich, and I'm the director of the One Spark Creator Academy. And at this point, if you're online with us and you're watching, you are either A, registered creator already, B, you're maybe on the bridge thinking, should I become a creator at One Spark? Or C, you found this and you're about to be either really bored or enthused for the next hour and a half. The whole purpose of tonight is to provide an outline for you as entrepreneurs and creators about this whole One Spark thing. And to do that, we've assembled an awesome crew, including one of the original co-founders of One Spark, Elton Rivas, and we'll go through all this wonderful bevy of people. I want you to get comfortable and kind of relax. We've got a lot of information to share with you, but I want to state right up front, we're gonna throw a lot at you. And feel free to take notes however you do, but know that at the end of this course, you're going to have an opportunity to go ahead and make sure you give us your contact information so that we can give you a complete download of the information. So if you miss something, don't worry. You're covered. We're going to get you those course notes as long as we have your contact information. So let's talk about what's coming up here this evening from One Spark Creator Academy, the free intro course we're talking about. First of all, myself, I'm Al Emmerich. As I said, I'm the director of the One Spark Creator Academy, also the owner of Al Emmerich Productions. My background is really focused on how we communicate brand, whether it's through spoken word, written, and this is really relevant because at the end of the day, you as creators are going to be charged with communicating your value proposition. And that's what attracted me to the One Spark Festival, as well as, of course, the Creator Academy, was trying to help people better communicate what their value proposition is, what their idea is. Because at the root of this, if people don't understand what it is you're trying to accomplish, they're not going to be able to help you. And today is the very first step, so I applaud you on being here. Here's what we're going to be looking at here today as our Brent, our wonderful team here, advances our slides. We've got Brent and Shannon, who we'll introduce to you in just a little bit. Elton Rivas, the CEO of One Spark, of course, we'll be talking to you in just a little bit. Other members of our team that are working with us here tonight include Meredith O'Malley Johnson, the One Spark Community and Public Relations guru. All right, she's also our customer service manager. Many of you have already probably spoken to him, and now you actually get to see him in all his beardedness, and that's Patrick Murphy. And he's going to bring in tons of energy and a lot of information for you. We also got Shannon Heath, our social media and content marketing strategist. You're actually talking online with Shannon. Feel free to send your questions starting now. Do we have like 1 million people yet, Shannon?
Quite a few.
Okay, excellent. Quite a few, just short of 1 million. Brent Fine is the silent dude behind all the technology. He is our operations manager, absolutely a wonderful person, and he's kind of like putting the whole physical thing together that's called OneSpark. So that's the team that's here with us this evening, and you'll have a chance to hear from each of these folks as well as ask some questions at the end in a Q&A. If you are live stream, as I mentioned, please feel free to chat, hit Shannon up, let us know your questions. We probably, unless it's just like absolutely burning, won't address them until the end of the presentation, but we want to make sure that you know that this is where we're moving to. So what is tonight all about? Well, let's talk about our goals. First, we want to identify the vision of OneSpark, who it helps, and how it helps. That's really, really, really important. We want to give you the information on registering and developing your profile. Some of you may already be there, but there's a lot of nuances that perhaps you might have missed, and this is an opportunity to learn those. Also, we're going to discuss the outlining of venue and matchmaking and the pitch deck process so you can understand how that needs to be navigated. There's a lot of exciting things happening with the voting and prize structure. A lot of changes this year that are great benefits. We're going to run through that. And of course, tips and resources on building a festival team. If you think that you can do this alone, I commend you. Awesome. But boy, it takes an army. It really does, because this is a massive undertaking that has so much benefit, and we're going to help you navigate how to build that team. So without further ado, what I'd like to do is introduce one of the original co-founders who not just was a co-founder, but has lived, breathed, executed, and been exactly where you are as an entrepreneur, which gives him this wonderful perspective of understanding what it's like to start something from scratch, because that's how OneSpark began. And to give you that spark and share it all with you, I'm going to turn it over to Elton Rivas. And no, we didn't coordinate the matching colors. It just happened.
Thanks, Al. All right, and thanks everybody for being here this evening. I'm not going to talk too long. I've got a few different things to cover here, talking a little bit about the vision of OneSpark, where we're headed with stuff, and then share a little bit about the changes for this year, and then we'll wrap up with who OneSpark is really for. We get a lot of questions about that, get a lot of people that say, well, is it for me? Is my idea good enough? And I'll talk about that briefly. And then we'll turn it over to Patrick, who will carry forward with a number of the things that Al talked about. Sharing a little bit about the vision of OneSpark. And ultimately, the whole reason this thing was built was to connect great ideas with the resources they need. It's difficult to do that no matter what market you're in. If you're in a small city, such as a Jacksonville that's smaller scale, or if you're in a major city, it's difficult for a variety of reasons. Smaller cities typically don't have pathways that are built or the infrastructure that's there to get people connected efficiently. And larger cities, sometimes you have too much noise. And so OneSpark's vision is ultimately to be a great platform where a great idea can get connected with the resource that it needs. And so moving forward from the vision here, talk a little bit about some of the changes and how we're helping creators specifically in 2015. And there's really three key areas that we want to call out that are going to be very beneficial for the creators at OneSpark in Jacksonville here in, 6-7 short weeks coming up. One of those, which is a major change, and we've gotten a lot of feedback about this. We've already seen hundreds of creator projects that are registered and getting matched that have rewards set up for their crowdfunding campaign at OneSpark. That's a really, really good way to drive incentives for people, and you have tens of thousands coming by and talking with you. They can contribute to you, and in years past, they've just been able to contribute, but you as a creator haven't been able to offer any sort of reward for that. We took that feedback, invested a lot into the technology this year, and so you can now do rewards-based crowdfunding campaigns. And if you haven't set those up yet, I'd encourage you to go ahead and sign into your account, look at the launch pad. At the bottom of that underneath your project, you'll see a little rewards button. Click on that and go ahead and set up your rewards. You'll have all the way until I think mid-March to go ahead and finalize those rewards, so you have plenty of time to change them. But that's a huge way to incentivize people to contribute to your project, which is ultimately what crowdfunding is all about. A couple other quick things. We're really focused on providing Wi-Fi zones this year. In a couple of years past, we've tried to blanket the entire footprint with Wi-Fi, and with the volume of people that we've had, it just hasn't worked. So this year, we're very focused on making sure that there's Wi-Fi zones specifically around the information and voting kiosks, and you can coordinate Wi-Fi specifically with the venues that you're going to be hosted in as well. So that's something that we're investing into in infrastructure to make sure the attendee experience is better, and as it's better for them, it's better for the creators as well. And the last piece of this, obviously, is this Creator Academy. Big thanks to Al and to the team for putting everything together. We're really excited about the Creator Academy this year because it's a way to really get people prepared for what OneSpark is and to make sure that you've got everything that you need for your project ready to go. We announced recently $3.5 million in pledged capital commitments from a variety of different venture partners. We have another free course that's coming up March 19th, I believe it is, and you can register for that as well, which is a free course called Angels and Investors, and that'll help you really understand how to get ready if you're going to go after startup money and seed capital from this investors pool. So the Creator Academy, great resource, great tool, and it's probably the single best way that you can make a small investment in your project to get a great return at OneSpark. Next piece of the puzzle here that we're going to talk about, and again, just kind of briefly fly through some of these things here, is how to actually leverage OneSpark. Variety of different ways, but some of the biggest feedback that we've gotten from creators is that you can go and get market validation, you can test, you can learn, you can get connected with other resources and human capital, build out your network of how you're actually going to scale your project and move forward. And then obviously you can secure some funds to launch your project as well. And most folks, they say, I go to OneSpark, I get funds enough to be able to try to cover my expenses of being there, and then I may meet some additional seed capital. This year I can do rewards-based crowdfunding, but the single biggest value is definitely through market validation and the connections that you build. So who's OneSpark for? It's for everyone, anybody with a great idea. It's for businesses that are under $1 million with their annual operating budget. And it's for people and startups in all stages of different development cycles. So really, OneSpark was built for those folks that have a great idea and are wondering, hey, is this going to work? Is this not going to work? What do I do with this? Well, you bring it to OneSpark, you've got a good opportunity to launch that idea, get feedback from a variety of different people over a very short period of time, test that, and enjoy a wonderful festive atmosphere as well. So that's kind of the brief intro that I've got. I'm going to turn it back over here to the team in a little bit and let them kind of carry things forward. So with that, I'll kick it back over to Al. Thanks.
Thank you, Elton. So as you begin to get into what's going to be the waterfall of information that we're going to share with you, I want to highlight a couple of facts. First of all, as you're online tonight, you may hear things that are absolutely familiar to you, and you may hear information that is not familiar to you, terminology, language, so on and so forth. One of the things that we really wanted to create here at the Creator Academy is a culture that there are no wrong answers. This is a safe place. And we've actually heard that back from our creators, and it's a really, really nice thing, but it's true. The idea of entrepreneurism, the idea of doing what you're about to embark on is in its own right, almost like being an actor on a stage where you say, I hope the audience likes my performance. And in your own right, you're kind of filleting open your soul to either be accepted or rejected. That is tough. That is a challenge, and it takes bravery to do so. This place, OneSpark, this place, the Creator Academy, this night, this live stream is a safe place. So please don't think that a question is stupid or silly. Ask it if you have it, because we've heard them all. And we want you to be better equipped to ask the right questions so that you're better prepared to have success. So that's really, really, really important that we set that tone for the culture of the festival as well as the culture of the Creator Academy. So with that said, at the cornerstone of everything we do here is customer service, right? You've got to deliver great customer service to your customers and so on and so forth, to your vendors and your partners. Well, at the seat of our customer service team here at OneSpark is a gentleman named Patrick Murphy. Some of you, as I mentioned earlier, may have talked to him. You will undoubtedly in the future. He's he's the foundation that you go to when the problems are occurring and you don't know what you don't know that you don't know. So to take you through the process of setting up your profile and so many other aspects, I'm going to turn it over to the bearded wonder, ladies and gentlemen, Patrick Murphy.
Thanks so much, Al. I really appreciate it.
Like that intro?
That was a great intro. And if you guys notice, as all our speakers start coming up tonight, we're all wearing gray. And I think we all coordinated that. Yeah. No? Okay. It was worth a shot. So some of the things that Al talked about before, we're going to dive into tonight, talking about your project profile. We're going to talk about how to match with a venue. We're going to talk about some event logistics, so you know what to expect when you come down to OneSpark 2015, and kind of dive into some of that media information that you need to know to be successful at this festival. So I think the first thing that we'll dive into is registering your project for OneSpark 2015. And the very first step is to visit onespark.com and jump on there and start building out that project profile. It is currently $95 to register and $25 if you have a .edu email address. So if you have that .edu, make sure to use it and save a little extra on your creator registration this year. So I think we'll go ahead and dive into perhaps what a successful project looks like and what those profiles are going to be. And what we've done for you here is listed a couple of different project profiles for you to take a look at and see exactly what your profile will look like this year and how to make a successful project profile so venues will look for you during the matchmaking process. So as you can see, you've got Eco Relics listed below, and Eco Relics is an existing business and has been around for quite some time now, but they really got a jump start at OneSpark 2014. And the reason they did so well is because they were able to match with a venue during the matchmaking process and get established inside a place that really worked for them during the festival. So as you can see in the Eco Relics profile, they've got a great project title. So it's who they are and what they do. They reuse, recycle, and repurpose. And they've got some realistic funding goals for them. As an existing business, you're probably going to have some larger funding goals versus a pure startup. And underneath that funding goal of $250,000, they've got exactly what they're going to use those funds for. So underneath there, you've got some great imagery as well. So you've got photos of their already existing business and their storefront. So make sure that you're capturing great images of your project and posting that online so the venues can see that and really connect with what you're trying to accomplish at the festival. And then on the other side of the screen, you're going to see the About Project and Project Showcase and project questions. So this is really just diving into the meat of what your project is all about and what you're trying to accomplish at the festival. So on About Your Project, you're going to be able to list a ton of great information about who you are, what you're trying to accomplish at the festival, what you're trying to accomplish after the festival and moving forward. Within your project showcase, you're actually going to tell the venues and attendees what to expect when they come to visit you at the festival. So you've got dimensions to list how big your project profile is going to be, or how big your project showcase is going to be. And then you'll also have a brief description of what to look for at the festival as well. And then the last part of their profile is the project questions. And that's going to, just a few questions that are going to really help get attendees to buy into your project and let them know why you're the best people in the world to accomplish this. And so we'll move on to the next one. And what we did is we wanted to use two different types of projects. So the very first project we used, Eco Relics, was an established business. So one that had been around for a while and had high financial goals for the festival. Now, this next one, Wolf and Cub, is actually a true startup. And as you can see, they do have lower funding goals for this for last year's festival at right around $20,000. But even though they're a true startup, they still have a ton of great information listed on that project profile. Great imagery to describe what the project is going to look like during the festival and after, and what exactly they're trying to accomplish at OneSpark. So always keep that in mind. where you're at with your project, whether you're from the very beginning or you're an established business, there's always a place here at OneSpark for you. So make sure that as you're going through to give as much detail as possible and really get people to connect with that project. And so we'll move on, and what we're actually going to talk about now are some of the venues that are located downtown that allow creator projects to showcase in their space during the festival. So we are right in the heart of matchmaking right now, which runs until February 28th. So I know a lot of you creators out there are reaching out to venues currently, and some of you may even have found your match already, and congratulations to you. And for those who are still out there trying to find your perfect match, keep it up and keep connecting with those venues on a daily basis and let them know why your project should be in their space. So what we'll do now is just kind of dive into a couple of different venues that you'll find at OneSpark 2015. And the first venue is actually a local business in downtown Jacksonville called Cowork Jacks. And this is a co-working space where people from all walks of business come together and get to collaborate on different projects, from graphic designers to CPAs to lawyers. And as you can see, these creators have really utilized the space to get attendees to interact with their project. So think about that as you're matching with your venue. You really want to choose a venue that's going to work well for your project and is going to allow you to interact with the people you are trying to connect with at OneSpark. And then the next venue that we have shown is really unique to the OneSpark Festival. One of the things that I personally love about OneSpark is that we actually shut down the streets at the festival and allow creators to showcase in the middle of what is normally a busy thoroughfare in downtown Jacksonville. So as you can see, there's some great projects and some attendees and creators connecting with each other right there on public streets. So if you have a project that's going to work outdoors versus indoors, this might be a great chance for you to connect with someone on a street venue versus an indoor venue. And we'll go on to one of the next venues that are going to be available at OneSpark, and that's the public parks. So we've got a couple of great parks downtown to take advantage of. Hemming Park, Main Street Park. These parks are really a great destination for attendees because they offer that green atmosphere. Once again, keep in mind that these parks are outdoors. So if your project works for an outdoor showcase, make sure to look for some of these parks during the matchmaking process. And then one of the last venues we'll have is some of our Class A office buildings. And as you can see here, this is actually the 6th floor of the SunTrust building. And one of the best views in downtown Jacksonville. It actually overlooks the river and the Jacksonville Landing. And this venue usually holds around 50 creator projects every year and allows for creators to be indoor, be hooked up to Wi-Fi, be out of the elements, have a fantastic view the entire time that they're in the building, and allow them to connect with the attendees in a more calm atmosphere versus the streets of the festival. And one of the other great venues downtown are always the outdoor venues, so make sure that you're checking those out. This is once again an example of one of the public parks in downtown. So if you're interested in being outdoors, make sure to check one of those out during the matchmaking process. And so to recap, filling out your project profile and looking for those different venues, we talked about having clear and concise goals. So you want to make sure that you're really connecting with attendees, contributors, voters, and anyone that's coming down to OneSpark to check out your project by having clear, concise, and achievable goals. You want to make sure that you have a transparent project timeline as well. So where are you at with your business, and where do you think you're going to be with your business 6 months, a year, 5 years down the line? Having a plan in place really helps people connect with what you're trying to accomplish. And then the last thing to recap on is that descriptive imagery and content. So make sure that you're really capturing some great images and putting that on your profile, as well as listing as much information about your project on there as possible. So we want to make sure that you guys as creators are prepared for the festival itself. It gets a little crazy once we get started on April 7th. And so we're going to go through some event logistics tonight so you know what to expect when you get down to downtown Jacksonville. So one of the first things we're going to talk about are what type of amenities are offered during the festival for creators. That's really going to depend on the venue that you get, and so you'll want to work out some of those amenities with that venue. Some of the amenities that venues will provide you are going to be Wi-Fi, electricity, bathrooms, food, water, and those types of things. So keep that in mind as you're going through and selecting the venue that might be your potential match. And those amenities are actually listed on the different venues at the bottom of their profile. So make sure to check those out because amenities are going to be key to the success of your project. So now that we've talked about that, let's go into some load in and load out times. So as you know, we actually added a day onto OneSpark this year. April 7th is going to be the OneSpark Speaker Summit, and we're really excited about that. So make sure that you come down, use that creator pass, and come hang out with us Tuesday at the Speaker Summit. And then you're actually going to start showcasing on Wednesday, April 8th, and you'll showcase from Wednesday, April 8th all the way until Sunday, April 12th. And what's going to happen is that very first Wednesday, you're going to be able to begin loading in at 7 a.m. So make sure you've got your coffee with you and you're ready to rock bright and early. And make sure you have all your showcase items prepped and ready to be set up because you're going to want to get in and out and then start to get ready to collect votes and funding right there at 11 a.m. So we've gone through some load in and load out information. We've talked about the amenities you need. And it looks like we might be ready to take some questions. So let's maybe dive into a few of those real quick before we bring Al back on.
Cool. So Latina Phoenix is her username.
Great name.
She wants to know, she had a question we wanted to ask you. She has requests pending for people, venues to host her, but she's not sure how to pick one. Can you elaborate a little bit more about the venue experience?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you've sent out messages to venues, those venues will actually see those messages that you've sent them. So continue to message those venues through your project profile so you can match with the best fit for you. Now, when a venue is interested in hosting your project in their space, they're going to send you what's called a host invitation. You'll be able to accept that host invitation through your project profile, and you can actually find it right there in the notifications section of that project profile, which will be listed on the left-hand side of your screen. So make sure that you're checking that notifications every few hours so you can make sure that you're grabbing that host invitation because host invitations are first come, first serve. So keep that in mind. If you start getting a couple of different invitations, you want to make sure that you pick the venue that's best for you. And I hope that answers your question, Phoenix. Great. Well, I think that's it for the questions for now. So I'm going to bring on our amazing MC, Al, and director of the Creator Academy, who's still wearing gray. I just want you to notice that. So thanks for having me, guys, and I hope to see you soon.
Thank you, Captain Patrick. All right, and again, just a reiteration that if you missed something, by all means, don't think that the world has ended. You are going to get a full recap of the notes. I also encourage you to go to our website, the OneSpark website. A lot of the details and information are there. The key question about the matching that a lot of people ask are, what if I don't get matched, or is it a guarantee that I'll be matched? I just want to remind everybody, you have to get out there, and it's like you're looking for a suitor. You're looking for that connection, and you don't want to get caught out in the cold. And that's one of the reasons that the Creator Academy was designed. Is we're doing these courses and providing this training and information so that you know what you need to know. This is like this festival, which meets entrepreneurism, which meets community. And as a result, there's a lot of different moving pieces. And all you need is one of those pieces to kind of be out of alignment, and that can set you back. So the Creator Academy and the courses that we're offering that we'll be talking about later, that's why you're sitting in front of us right now, because we want you to be ahead of the game. One of the things that is the cornerstone and the sexy part of OneSpark is the pitch. I remember the very first year that I walked through OneSpark, I heard, and it's really the reason I became engaged, was I saw all these people that had these great ideas and they were excited, but they had a tough time communicating what they were doing or what the value proposition is. So the pitch is a big piece of everything you're going to be doing because it leads to the crowdfunding and it leads to the votes. And here to kind of tie all of that in the process of how it works is somebody who pitches a lot, One Spark, like probably more than anybody else, all over the state, all over the region, and that's Meredith O'Malley Johnson. And she oversees our community and public relations, but she's also a great brand champion who knows her stuff. And yes, she's wearing gray too. And what you don't know is that Brent's wearing gray. And I think there's like people we don't even know wearing gray, and that has no relevance, so I apologize. Go ahead, Meredith.
Thank you, Al, for that kind introduction. So I'm here tonight to talk to you about, slide please, pitch decks. I should have remembered that, but yes, we're here to talk about pitch decks. So we're going to have 3 pitch decks at One Spark this year. 2 are for non-music creators, and 1 is a music stage for music creators. So you'll be able to start signing up for those starting in March. You'll get an email. So if they haven't already talked about it, make sure you're always checking your emails. You can sign up for pitch decks through emails. You can sign up through your to fill out the form for private investment. So checking those emails on a regular basis from us is super important, or you might miss a really great opportunity. So once you get that email, you'll be able to sign up for your pitch deck. First come, first serve. So if there's a certain time you want, make sure you sign up immediately, and everyone will have an opportunity to sign up. Speakers get about 10 to 15 minutes, and then music stage creators will get about 20 to 30 minutes. And we'll also have backline instruments, drums for music creators. So here's some tips to really ace your pitch deck performance. The first one is just bring some visuals. It could be anything. You could bring a slideshow. You're able to bring that on a USB drive and bring it right up to the stage, and they'll be able to load it for you before your presentation. It could be something that you're waving in the air, that you have something on a stick, just something that will make people remember you and make people remember your project. Second, make impactful statements. Have an amazing pitch. Al has been drilling this into everybody I know. You have to have a great pitch to be successful at One Spark. And you can take our pitch course on March 14th as well. That's also paired with a marketing class that will be really helpful for your success at One Spark as well. I already said sign up early. First come, first serve for pitch decks. And another thing, promote to build your audience. There's no guarantee there's going to be a bunch of people there at your pitch deck for your assigned time. So I would create a Facebook event. Invite all your friends and family to come out and watch you give your pitch. Because if you have an audience already there, then more people are going to join if they see something cool is going on. So make sure you promote your pitch deck time to friends, families, and supporters. Last, make sure you mention your project name and number and ask for people to vote for you. A lot of creators forget to do this. It's always nerve-wracking being on stage in front of people, but even if you have to write your creator number on your hand and to remember to say it, make sure you mention it so the people in the audience, if they love their pitch, that they can go ahead and vote for you right away. So next I'm going to talk about voting and contributing. So obviously this is a super important part of the festival and how you're able to get some funding. So for voting this year, I think Elton already mentioned our process is much improved. We've invested a lot of money in our website this year to make sure our voting process is great. So, and the app is going to be out very soon. So check your email for that so you can go ahead and download it and take a look at it when it's ready. We're going to have it for Android and iPhone. So the first step is going to be registering to vote. And how you do that, I recommend just doing it before you go to the festival. Go ahead and create an account as a voter on onespark.com. And then once you get to the festival, all you have to do is press the check-in button on your app, and you'll be ready to vote at the festival. And if you have any issues, you can always go to a voting and information kiosk. If you don't have a smartphone, you can go to a voting and information kiosk, and we'll have volunteers there to help you. So that's the check-in. Then you're able to go ahead and vote and contribute. So the voting is what distributes our crowd fund, and contributing is person-to-person contributions. You're pitching someone, they're really excited about your idea. Make sure you ask for 10, 20, 50 bucks. And this year, of course, we have the reward structure that you can set up just like Kickstarter.com to incentivize people to contribute to you. So go ahead, Brent. Thank you. Okay, now prizes and crowdfunding. So we have a lot of different types of funding at One Spark. The first one is the $350,000 in awards and crowdfunding. We have $150,000 of that is divided out by popular vote. So if you get at least 0.1% of the vote for your project, then you will collect that money. And that will be in your check that you'll get about a month or two after OneSpark. The rest of the awards, we have 2 in each category, $15,000 awards, each of them. So altogether, we have 13 $15,000 awards. And the first one is given out by the public, really. So those votes, if you're the top voted in your category, then you get that $15,000 award. The second award in each category is the juried award. So we'll have 3 to 5 jurors that are subject experts in your category area, and they will be able to go around, look at all the projects. So again, make sure you stay near your booth or have somebody there at all times, because you could miss your juror. And they are required to visit every single project. We had that question a lot last year. I just want to clarify that. So, and they will pick their final 3 projects in each category, and then you will get a Shark Tank style presentation on Sunday, the last day of the festival, to present, and then the jurors will decide who gets the $15,000 awards in each category. The final $15,000 award goes to the person who gets the most individual contributions. So if you really nailed it at OneSpark and everybody's like, I want to be the first to get your product and I'm going to contribute to make sure that happens, you could be up for that award. So, and that's another reason you want people to contribute through onespark.com or the app, because that money we can track. If it's cash or check, we have no way to track that, and it will not go towards possibly earning that last $15,000 award. And the final award is $5,000. If you're a Jacksonville-based creator, we do have a Jacksonville award this year, and it's going to go to the project from Jacksonville that is expected to have the biggest potential impact on the city. And we also have millions of potential capital investment. We have $3.5 million that was just announced last week of potential capital investment. Again, OneSpark is not going to give out that money to people. We simply attract investors to the festival that are looking for early stage startup companies in a variety of areas. And don't miss that email, because you will have a chance to fill out an application to pitch those investors in person. And that deal is done between the project and the investor. OneSpark does not invest in projects ourselves. And I already talked a lot about contributions, but don't forget to take advantage of the rewards-based contributions this year and set up a really cool profile. I personally always like to contribute at like the $40 or $50 level to get like a free t-shirt or something like that. But just make sure you utilize those rewards to get those direct contributions. And thanks everybody for listening. Thanks for joining us, and best of luck at OneSpark 2015. Al?
Thank you, Meredith. And I want to talk about crowdfunding real quickly. On March 5th, it's a Thursday night, and we'll recap this at the end for you. We are going to have a crowdfunding live stream from 6:30 to 8:30. You can watch it from the very same seat you're sitting in now, with your beverage of choice in your left or right hand and your feet up and your notes taking. We've got a great lineup for that course, because I don't know how many of you have done a crowdfunding campaign before. You know, there's a lot of buzz about, oh, wow, yeah, man, let's do a crowdfund, or this organization or that person that raised X amount of money in their crowdfund. Well, the truth is there's a ton of crowdfund campaigns that are done and really don't succeed, and they're not executed properly. And the reason is there's not the right strategy and plan. It's not like just dropping a coin and then watching the ripple go. You've got to really have a plan. So on that Thursday, March 5th, from 6:30 to 8:30, Elton Rivas, who you've already seen, is going to be here. Also Angel Torres, who is a gentleman who's been a part of a number of different startups and has run successful crowdfunding campaigns. We're also going to have some information from the Florida Coastal School of Law on how to legally protect yourself and be prepared for the laws that are coming down the line and existing today on crowdfunding. And then at the end of it, this is so cool, Brian Meese, who is the founder of Rocket Hub, like the founder. He was one of our keynote. He was our keynote speaker last year at the speaker series. He's going to be doing a 30-second Q&A. So that's some firepower. You'll make sure you want to put that on the calendar. Before we move on to the festival team building, I wanted to bring Patrick back on, and really to kind of talk a little bit more about the matchmaking process, because there's some nuances of it that we needed to probably dive into a little bit further. So Patrick, I'll invite you on, and I'm going to ask you the questions, and then we'll go from there. So cool. One of the questions that came through, thanks Shannon, is that, okay, what do I say to these people, and how do I identify the right match? And I know that that's a loaded question because there's so many different aspects, but can you kind of give kind of a 30,000 foot view to that?
Yeah, definitely. And it's a great question at that. So as you're going through the matchmaking process, and we kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, we talked about the things like amenities, whether you need to be indoor or outdoor, what your showcase is going to look like during the festival. Those are the types of things that you want to keep in mind as you're going through the matchmaking process, because that's really going to determine how, I don't want to say successful, but how your showcase is going to look and how you're going to interact with different attendees. So once you complete that project profile, you definitely want to give as much information on there as you can about who you are, what you're trying to accomplish, but then also put things in there like really detailed information about what your showcase is going to look like. Are you going to have a 40-foot statue to draw people over to your venue? Or are you just going to have a standard display of a 10 by 10 tent with a 6-foot table and some marketing materials? Those little details may not seem like much, but it's really a great idea to put that in there because it shows that transparency that venues are looking for, and it gives those expectations to the attendees when they come down to see you at the festival.
And something that as a creator you want to be patient with is the fact that this is matchmaking, and OneSpark itself has, it's a relationship between you and the venue. So the venue is also selecting, but don't look at that if you don't get contacted by somebody right away or the right person that your project isn't a good project. I've been asked before, well, what if the matchmaking isn't perfect for me? And what if they don't like my idea? Well, there may be other venues that do. So that's why you got to really cast a wide net, right?
Absolutely. And so as you're going through and you're looking at all these different venues, definitely look at the ones that you think are your top venues. So maybe out of the 70 plus venues that are listed, pick your top 10, and you really want to focus on getting those. But then you want to have a B and C list too of venues that you could make work and still be successful at. So like you said, really cast that broad net. Make sure that you're reaching out to as many venues that you think could work for you as possible, because that's how you're going to be successful during matchmaking.
Cool. Thanks, Patrick.
Thank you.
And Patrick's going to be here for other questions as we go to the Q&A at the end. Also, I want to let you know, and I don't remember if I mentioned this, but we also have 2 creators who will be joining us coming up at the probably the next 15, 20 minutes or so. These are former creators who will be able to share with you their experiences. You can kind of hear it directly from somebody who's been where you are. So let's get back to a really big component of this training, and that is building a festival team. I said earlier when we first started, and for those of you that may have joined us late, because I know some people have jumped on, having a team is mission critical to your sanity, to your success, and to your sanity. Did I state that it's mission critical to your sanity? And let me explain to you why. When we talk about, we can go to the next one, Brent. We talk about the types of teams. You've got a pre-festival team, you've got a festival team, and you've got a post-festival team. You may have people who interchange between the 3 teams, but why am I talking about this? Well, let's first look at the pre-festival team. Look at this like going on a vacation, and you're going to plan your vacation, and then you're going to live your vacation, and then afterwards, you're going to have memories and share your vacation, right? Well, each of those requires different subsets. I'm a terrible planner, right? I don't plan as well as my wife does. So when we go on vacation, we'll pick a spot together, but she'll go ahead and handle the logistics. I'll handle the stuff while we're there. And then usually it's a combination of both of us that ends up telling the story afterwards. That's kind of like your project, right? The elements of your pre-festival team require very specific talent sets. And if you expect to do it all yourself, it's going to become overwhelming before you even get started. First of all, there's the idea and development team. And when we talk about this is kind of like the team that's helping develop your project. Because OneSpark is a project within your project. Keep that in mind. You may have the magical glowing pen that's going to save the world. OneSpark is a vehicle for you to do a variety of different things: validate, market, crowdfund, but it is a moment in time for your project. So the project itself has to be developed, yes, but also you have to approach OneSpark with its own strategy. So then there's the operations. How do you get things done? How are you going to move your equipment or whatever it is you need? Where are you getting the tables from? Do you need tables? Do you need chairs? Those kinds of questions. That's kind of an operations-minded person. Maybe your creative team isn't the same as your operations team. Maybe they are. It just depends on your team. There's marketing and communications. This might be somebody that never sets a foot, perhaps, in your venue, but might help you on the front end with all of your Twitter account, your Facebook account, and all the pre-marketing that needs to be done to kind of build momentum heading into the festival. And then, of course, there's your strategic development team. These are the nuts and bolts. This is how you get from point A to point B. If you're going on that vacation, are you taking a plane? Are you getting off and taking a bus? What's the strategy to achieve the end game, which is, of course, success at OneSpark? So that's the pre-festival team. Next up, you've got your actual festival team. This is all the stuff that's going to go on in those wonderful 5 days of magic in downtown Jacksonville. You've got recruitment, okay? You've got to recruit volunteers to help you throughout OneSpark. So you could even say that's almost like a pre-festival team, but that recruitment might actually occur during the festival itself. There's the operations of the festival itself that are going on. You got to get water. Everything's set up, but now you got to get water. You got to keep people hydrated. There's going to be food breaks. You're going all day long. People are going to need to have shifts. How that's managed falls under the operations piece. Then there's the marketing at the festival itself. Okay, you show up, great. I'm here at OneSpark. Now what? If you think you should just sit behind your venue and not come out and talk to people, you're going to run into a brick wall that's going to limit your success. You got to get out, network, connect, promote, share with people that, hey, we're in venue XYZ, come see us, and here's a creative reason why you should. Then there's connecting. A lot of people bypass this team. The connecting team is, okay, imagine this, 200,000+ people, downtown Jacksonville, 250,000 plus people downtown Jacksonville. But you're really there to connect with people who can help you move your project along, right? So who do you want to talk to? You want to talk to other creators. You want to talk to experts. You want to talk to vendors maybe that can help you, ship that whatever that needs to be procured. Making those connections requires getting out to the parties, going to different venues, visiting the festival itself, and seeing what it's all about. So that can't be you if you're doing the pitches and you're doing the management and all that stuff. And then there's the research and education, which kind of is along the connecting. And that is, this is a great learning opportunity. I mean, how many times do you get a chance to do this and be around this many fellow creators, folks who are experts and so on and so forth? So having those resources well-defined and listed, just like you would on a manifest for any type of order or schedule or plan for an event, you need to have these bodies in place. And then lastly, there's the post-festival. Brent, if we want to jump to that. Okay, this is like getting the horse to the water. They're tired, but then they don't drink. That horse ain't going very far. Why are you going to go through all of this work to get to just before the end of the finish line and then stop? The finish line actually is not the finish line. It's the starting line. If you look at April 7th through 12th, on the 13th, your work really truly begins because you've captured all these leads. You've made this impression. You've done all this work to get people to go, hey, look at me, look at me, look at me. If you don't remind them why they should look at you and engage them and keep that relationship going, all that momentum was for nothing. So you need a communication strategy and a communications team to help you continue after OneSpark to tell your story. And ideation and project development. What does that mean? And we'll talk a lot about this in one of our Creator Foundations courses, which talks about, how you pivot. But at the end of the day, what if you came and learned that the color blue was not a good color for your project, and actually people responded to red or green or something else? Well, you've got a decision to make. Do I change some of my colors? Do I change some of my design? Whatever that is, you've got to be able to pivot effectively, and that requires a process. There's the fundraising aspect. You do your crowdfunding, you do all this, maybe you've got investors talking to you, continuing to raise that capital and go after that capital. It's not like, hey, listen, it's great, it's the 12th of April, I'm done, no more money needed. I doubt that will happen. You will need more money. And then lastly, the marketing that continues. You've learned all this information, you've got all this intel, you got to now shape your story because the success that comes after OneSpark is what people want to know about. It's great that you were sexy here, but what they want to do is they want to hear you were sexy and you were successful. So those are the three post-festival, pre-festival, and actual festival teams. Recruiting a team is is no easy task, but here are some tips to help you get along. Some of you may be in the nonprofit arena or you've worked in different arenas and you're well versed at this, and I would encourage you to pull on all those strengths. But here are some tips for those of you that haven't been. First of all, strategize and spread the word. Now, today, yesterday, like tonight, tweet. As you're getting out, I would be telling people, if you're a creator right now, hey, guess what? I'm online and I'm learning from the One Spark Creator Academy about how to make my project awesome. Let people know your story. Start with your friends and family. Why? Well, duh, friends and family are the first people to usually pay attention to you. That's a good thing and a bad thing, which we can talk about, but it's a good thing in the beginning because your friends and family are the first people are going to say, hey, I want to help. Second, community and civic. The people whose lives you touch in your community, both civically as well as just your general physical community. Work and professional. You know what? One Spark has a pretty strong brand and it's a pretty cool thing in this region. So people are interested in what's going on with One Spark and what are you doing with One Spark. Trust me, I talked to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of creators and they usually get a real positive vibe from people when they hear, hey, I'm going to become a creator. And then lastly, what I call the yet unknown network. These are the people you run into while you're out, at Chomp Chomp downtown at lunch. I threw that in because they fed me a great dinner tonight. Seriously though, as you're out and about and you just kind of tell your story and people go, oh, that would be cool. I think that's the neatest thing. Do you need any help? Guess what? Yeah. Can you help me? Sure. Get their name, their address. That's the yet unknown network. So strategize and spread the word. Next, be structured and realistic. Think about your own life. Think about the time constraints that you have. You got to identify roles and responsibilities. Nobody wants to show up to clean the baseball field or the football field or rake the leaves if they don't understand what they're supposed to do. Am I bagging? Am I raking? Am I raking and bagging? How much time is this going to take? What are the parameters? When will we be done? Is there a lunch break? All those things help people define their time, and you're asking them to give their time. So make it easy for them to make a good decision. Create scopes of work. Hey, listen, this is going to be about an hour. It's going to require some heavy lifting, or better yet, if that's not working for you, there's this, this, and this. That scope of work, again, defines those parameters and avoids the question of doubt or gray, pardon the pun, and makes it clear for people to know what they're doing. Develop a schedule. Great. Hey, listen, these are the shifts we have, okay, 6 to 10, 10 to 7, whatever. Guess what that does? It tells people that you got your act together, that this is a professionally run, managed event, and as a result, they can expect that when you say, I need you to do this, and it's going to end here, they can count on that, and that makes it easier for them to make a decision. Hey, listen, ask for accountability. One of the biggest challenges, I used to work in the nonprofit arena for a number of years and still do a lot of volunteering. And one of the biggest things I would always hear people say is, well, I don't want to ask them, to sign on the dotted line because, they're already giving up their time. Forget it. This is your dream. This is what you're bending your life in half for and sweating bullets to try to make come true. They owe it to you, if they say, yes, I want to help, to be held accountable for what they're going to do. Wouldn't you want the same thing? So that accountability is just simply saying, I need you here by 9 o'clock, or I need you here by 10, and if you wouldn't mind signing out, and please don't be late because it's really, really important to me. That lets people know you care, and it also lets people know that they're being held accountable. And lastly, create incentives. I've talked to some creators in the past who literally set up incentives for their volunteers. Hey, listen, if you work a double shift, we'll give you an extra t-shirt, or we'll invite you to our pre-party, or whatever that is. Something that the volunteers say, hey, listen, I'm not just doing this because it's cool, I'm getting something from it. Moving on. Some recruiting resources, and there's a ton of them out there, and I'm not the maven on this, and I'm sure I've missed some sources, but here are 3 that you could definitely go to. One is the Nonprofit Center of Northeast Florida. If you happen to be in the social good category or something like that, you definitely want to go ahead and reach out to them. They know a lot of different nonprofits in town and a lot of organizations that are looking for ways to reach back into the community. Serviceleader.org is a great national organization that's got some tips on volunteer recruitment. And then another one that's a national scope is the Knowledge Network, the nationalservices.gov. And again, if you Google volunteer recruitment, and this is more about how you go about the process of recruiting, but when it comes to the people to recruit, like I said, we've talked about that network, and you just need to think about anybody and everybody, and don't be afraid to ask. Do we have I know we have one of our creators here. We got Philip here in the spring here yet? She's coming up in the elevator? Excellent. Okay. So let's go back to the next slide then Brent, if we can, real quick. And we're right on time. We're going to get to some questions in just a little bit. I'd like to introduce to you a couple of people. Nope, that went backwards. We'll go forwards. I'd like to introduce you a couple of people who are actually OneSpark creators from the past, and they've now leapt into the future to go ahead and share with you. First that I'm going to introduce you to in just a moment is Philip O'Donnell. Philip is a 2014 creator who is the founder of EnrollYourChild.com. Philip was actually a creator that was in the co-work space in Jacksonville, and and I'll let him explain it. Philip, if you want to come on in, I'll introduce you in just a second here. But Phillips did a great job of explaining what could have been complicated principle and project in a very clear, defined way. Also, he's an example of somebody who was using OneSpark for more than just crowdfunding. He really was trying to get some good validation and some feedback from creators. He was participant in last year's Creator Academy curriculum, and what our role for our creators here to do is to talk from their heart and soul about the things that help them succeed, but also the challenges they faced. Most importantly, they want to pay forward the thoughts and fears that they had so that you can learn from them. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Philip O'Donnell. Philip, the camera's right here, and you'll be a rock star. Excellent. Good to see you,
Thank you, Elton. I appreciate it. Al.
You didn't know he was coming right up on the stage.
Yeah, thanks. No, the reason Al asked me to kind of come and talk to this group here, as someone who was coming to OneSpark from a business-to-business standpoint, I had a little bit of a different goal than someone who was coming at it from a place where they were really doing a lot of sales to individuals. From a business standpoint, because you're dealing primarily with business owners, you're actually looking more for feedback from the general audience. People can be surprisingly interested in discussing the topic matter you're dealing with, even if it's something specific. So my project was, I have a software that processes credit cards for childcare centers. So there's a very small subset of the people who might be showing up at OneSpark that own childcare centers. But that didn't stop people from having a lot to say about the topic. They had feedback. If it's something that can connect with people in some way, you'll see that they're interested in having that discussion. I used it also as a way, as my business was coming together. OneSpark provided a nice foundational element to really say, this is the point at which I need to have my business ready, right? I need to have the logo, I need to have the pitch down, I need to have my funding plans in place. And so a lot of times when it's a project you're working on and you're the one that's kind of setting the deadlines, something like this can really be a big benefit because it really forces you to have all your ducks in a row before you walk into that room. So even if you're looking at your project and you're thinking, well, I'm probably not going to be selling to the people who are showing up at OneSpark, that doesn't mean that you're not going to get a lot of benefit from having that discussion with those people. And to be honest, a person who owned a daycare center was actually walking around and showed up at my booth. So you really just never know until you sit down with that group of people.
Great. I'm going to share some space with you here, Philip. So you and I have talked numerous times about the experience of the pitch, and you're a really good communicator. But you also were able to see creators last year during the OneSpark Creator Academy boot camp we had. What is it that you see that probably was most common in the challenges that creators had, and what advice would you give them in overcoming whatever that challenge was?
I think one of the big challenges I saw in the boot camp specifically was really getting down to a specific, concise pitch. It sounds easy because when you sit down and you're talking about it, you're kind of going over the main topics you want to hit in your head. But it really takes a ton of practice to get that really smooth 10 seconds worth, 20 seconds worth, 30 seconds worth, whatever the occasion, to just get that down so well that you can say it in your sleep, and really coming to a place where you get people who are providing feedback and saying, hey, I'm hearing what you're saying, but maybe don't use this word, maybe say this a little differently. You don't need to throw that sentence in. Having that ability to really iron that out with professionals that have dealt with that before is really an invaluable area of expertise.
What was the biggest lesson that you learned as a creator about your project from the whole OneSpark experience?
I got to be honest. It was how to make something interesting to anybody that walked up. And honestly, I don't think that's a cop-out, because I think that when you're dealing with, especially if you're interested in investors, every investor has a different thing they're looking for in a business, right? And different things that are going to trigger their interest when they see you. And so to be able to say, like, you know, I can take the most random person that walk up, describe them in any way you want to, and I can kind of tailor craft a pitch that's going to really get them like interested in what I'm doing, even if I'm doing something super specific that probably has nothing to do with them. Like, that ability is going to get you a really long way once you start dealing with a wide variety of people.
Great. And are you able to share, I mean, kind of what happened after OneSpark and what you're doing with your project now and how things are going?
Sure, yeah. So when we launched at OneSpark, we had our one beta client who was active on the software. We're up to 5 people now. We've got Salesforce out there. We've got people actually knocking on doors now. Mm-hmm. So OneSpark was a great launching pad for us. And it provides a nice way to be able to say, you know, could have seen us at OneSpark if you were there. So it gives some validity to the idea that we really had like that launch moment that you want to have.
So that kind of speaks to what I was talking about before, is when you're looking at your team and you're looking at what happens after OneSpark. I mean, if Philip had just kind of stopped as of last year on day 4 or 5, you probably wouldn't be standing here right now having this conversation.
Absolutely.
Cool. Thanks, Philip. I appreciate it. And Philip's going to stay around. We're going to do the Q&A at the end. At this time, I'll let him step out and bring in Dr. Spring Bruce from one of the stars from last year, Neuro Initiative. And Spring, one of the reasons that we've asked her to come on by is she's really that prime example of somebody who took something so complicated at face value and was able to simplify it in such a clear, concise way. From the science and technology side, which is really, really tough to explain. And she's also been a big fan of, a big champion of the Creator Academy, and has just really inspired a lot of new, fresh creators for this year. So, Dr. Bruce, I'll bring you on in, and I'm gonna step away, but I'm gonna open it up with a question. I'll let you ask it, and then I'll come back on. Tell everybody what you won last year.
We won the Science Juried Award last year.
All right. And what was the first thought you had after you won? Do you remember?
Oh my gosh, we were really excited. Like, what are we going to do? You know, just the list of things that you want to do with that money and that exposure, and that, you know, you just, all the wheels are turning in your head. Like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. We didn't sleep for, I think, 3-4 days after that.
Okay, so that's exciting. 3 or 4 days of no sleep, along with the 14 days of no sleep leading
up. Yes, but it's so exciting, the whole process,
yeah.
Obviously, that, it doesn't feel like you're not getting any sleep. It's just so much energy is injected into you from everybody else, like the energy of the crowd, the energy of the other creators, sure. Judges, yourself, of course, and it's just exciting.
Cool. Well, I'm going to turn it over to you to kind of share your experiences and good tips and will for the attendees.
So from my experience, we actually were kind of on the fence whether we wanted to do OneSpark or not, because as Al mentioned, we had such a complicated project to begin with. But we kind of made a list of all of the things that OneSpark could offer us. And, it starts with just validation of the idea. So your friends and family will tell you your idea is great. That's why they're your friends and family. If they don't, you have some other problems, but you get kind of validation from people who don't know you, who don't know your project. So you can actually, know that it's a good idea, that it's a great idea, get some real feedback from people who might be your target audience. The second thing is, and this was really important for us, is collaborators. So, other people who can help you work on the project, who can get you the little pieces that you might not have. So for us, like marketing and advertising was an area that we just didn't have any experience with. And that was really helpful to get to know some other people. The third thing, and of course I think the most important for most people, is money. So, getting connected with investors or other people who can fund your project. And then last but not least is exposure. So you are, in front of hundreds of thousands of people, and this is a truly rare opportunity. If you do any kind of show, you have to pay a lot of money, and we've looked into that, thousands of dollars, and this way you get to just go and be in front of the crowd and expose them to your brand, to your idea, to your product, whatever it is that you have, and it's essentially free. So there's a very small fee associated with it. So I think that's a really big plus as well. Other than that, you get to go out there and you get to present your idea to all these people and hopefully make a product or a service or whatever it is that you're selling.
So, Spring, I'm going to ask you similar to what I asked Philip. You also spoke to a lot of creators during the Creator Academy last year.
Oh yeah, we made some good friends.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the byproducts of this whole experience is just the collegiality that grows. But what is it that you saw from your perspective, having been there, now watching new creators at the end of last year, our first round of training? What is it you saw that was kind of like the biggest pain point for creators?
The biggest pain point?
Yeah, pain point, like that they were struggling with.
Oh, pain point. Okay. I think a lot of people kind of have a hard time getting their pitch down. Getting getting somebody else to understand. And we had a heck of a time with that because our product is really complicated. We're looking to disrupt the way that pharmaceutical drugs are being made, and that's not an easy thing to explain to somebody, especially in a matter of like 30 seconds, which is really what you need to do. So that I think has been constantly the biggest pain, and the Creator Academy really helps with that. You actually walk people through, and we've done it with people, and go, okay, I think I get it. This is what you're trying to tell me, and explain it back to them in a minute, and then they can tell you if that's really their idea and their pitch.
If somebody's watching this and they're going, okay, man, I'm pumped, I want to do something, what would you say is like the first couple of things somebody needs to do starting now?
Oh boy, there's so much to do.
I know.
So much stuff you can do. I would say the biggest thing is know what you want to get out of it. So what is the single most important thing that you want to get out of this experience?
And it's not always the money, is it?
It's not always the money. It certainly wasn't for us. We were looking for collaborators and exposure and validation of the idea. And then, of course, the money kind of comes along with it once you have all of those other things. So know what the most important thing is. If your team is lacking a business person, maybe you want to get some business advice. Even if it's not just picking up somebody who's going to be a partner, you can find collaborators. If you need marketing and advertising people, maybe you can partner up with some people. If it's the money, definitely focus on that, because there are certain things that investors look for. How can you multiply their money that they're investing in your company? What are going to be the exit strategies? And those are the things you need to focus on if you're actually asking for money. So I would say the biggest thing is know what you want out of this whole experience.
Awesome. I'll let you step away for just a minute. We're going to cover a little bit more
Al.
ground. And then just in a couple of minutes, probably less than 5, we're going to go to the Q&A and get your questions answered. We've got the whole team on standby to answer your questions. So let's kind of show you what's coming up, and you can pick and choose what matters to you. But, it sounds like a sales pitch. But look, I'm just going to be honest with you. We talked to over 70 plus creators who attended the Creator Academy last year, and unequivocally people said, wow, thank you for giving us this course. And it's important. OneSpark thrives when you succeed. If everybody goes to OneSpark and they don't hit their goals and they can't even identify their goals, or they're not successful, then what good is the festival? It's not achieving its goal of driving economic change in this region. So this is set up for you to win. Okay, so coming up, I mentioned this earlier, on March 5th, which is a Thursday from 6:30 to 8:30, is Crowdfunding 101. You can see it on the screen. This is all about how you develop a successful crowdfunding campaign. I mentioned earlier we've got some stars in Brian Meese, the founder of Rocket Hub, Elton Rivas, and some other folks. But this is really critical. The whole shooting match is founded around crowdfunding. So this will give you the who's and what's, and it's live stream, so you don't have to go anywhere. Next course after that is the first half of a full day of curriculum. This is called Creator Foundations: How to Succeed at OneSpark. I got to tell you, they're all important, okay? But this is like mission critical. This is where you determine the foundation for what your unique value proposition is. You've heard everybody talk about how much of a challenge it is to get that pitch down. Well, to understand your pitch, you have to understand why you're here at OneSpark and what you're doing. Creator Foundations helps you achieve that. It doesn't matter whether you're an experienced entrepreneur or you're just starting out of the box. It doesn't matter what category you're in, art, the whole 9 yards. This is good for you, and it'll help you identify that. We're also bringing in one of the founders, or actually the founder of RF Smart and CSI, which is a very, 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 very internationally recognized technical company, and to talk about scaling and how you scale your business. For those of you that are to be growing beyond tomorrow, scaling is very important. That's, again, the first half of Saturday, March 14th. The way to know that is that's also the date of the Gate River Run. So we've adjusted it to the afternoon so that you've got time to run in the Gate River Run, get your game on, and then come on and work with us from 1 to 3:30 at Cowork Jack's. You can see there's only 35 seats available. The second half of that day is what you've heard so many folks talking about, which is the Pitchcraft and Marketing 101. We've combined this course so that you're talking about your pitch and you're going to learn about the different types of pitches you have to. You heard a lot of people talking about the fast pitch, the 1-second elevator speech, but you've also got your pitch deck pitch. And you also have the pitch to investors in the event that you're selected from the crowd, okay, or from by an investor to come pitch to them. You better be ready because that's your golden shot. And then we're going to also talk about how to craft a marketing strategy and a marketing plan both before, during, and after the festival. We're bringing in some top-notch professionals who are marketing gurus, as well as we'll have, of course, creator coaches such as Spring and Philip to talk. And that's the second half of Saturday from 4 to 7:30. That's a live class. Both of those are live. And then if you want to go for the whole shooting match, this is a great combination. It's a great package. It's only $65. You get the afternoon and the evening. We throw in dinner at the in the evening for you. And this way, you kind of have one continuous flow of thought. And then our final program is a free program. This will also be live streamed, and that's called Angels and Investors. And that's coming up, Brent, on Monday, March 16th. That's once again, I think Elton had earlier said March 19th, but it's actually Monday, March 16th. It's going to be a live stream. It's free. We've got, Blair Martin, who is the director of the Florida Angel Nexus. We're going to have some investors, Jim Stallings from one of the managing partners for PS27 Ventures, as well as some folks who have had people invest in them. Also, Jim Cataland. He's the former CEO of Arthur Treacher's Fish and Trips, which at one time was one of the largest retail restaurants in the world. And he teaches entrepreneurial law out at the Florida Coastal School of Law, and he'll be by as well. There's some benefits if you take these courses I just talked about, these paid courses I was talking about. These benefits are really, really awesome. First of all, you get a custom badge on your creator profile and also OneSpark signage. What this tells people is that you took that extra step to learn. You became a Creator Academy graduate. And it also puts you in a very select class of folks who have been a part of this first year of curriculum, sort of its own fraternity, if you will. Also, 1 year free membership to DocStock. I'd encourage you to check out docstock.com. It's one of the largest online repositories of business and entrepreneur resources, ranging from videos to Word documents and files on everything from finance to investing to pitching to how you set your furniture up to human resources, the whole 9 yards. It's great, and you'll get a free membership. Here's the cool part. You'll also be eligible to be selected or be able to select a Creator Academy time slot on a OneSpark pitch deck. So what's going to happen is from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. every night at OneSpark, okay, on one of the main stages, okay, there's the stage in Hemming Park, and then there's also the stage that's going to be near the beer garden. You'll have an opportunity as a graduate who's completed your courses here, those courses I mentioned, you'll have a chance to go ahead and get a first crack at those times between 6 and 7 p.m. when there's a lot of traffic. That is really, really cool. And it's being curated by myself and the team from the Creator Academy. And then lastly, you get free legal advice from our partners at the Florida Coastal School of Law. Yeah, we're talking free legal advice. You need to understand how to set up your company, the operations agreements and things like that. This is free legal advice that's available to you. That's invaluable in making sure you're a well-established organization. You can register for any of these courses. I'd like to encourage you to do it now while you can get a seat in there. If you go to our website, you can watch a video and hear testimonies from actual new creators who have gone through the workshops. And, ask your friends. Education helps you learn. Well, why not learn before you come into OneSpark? And that's all the information there. So at this time, I'd like to turn it over to you, Shannon, and let us know what we've got question-wise. And we'll get our guests and friends queued up just in case you can jump on. And Patrick, I think you've got the mic. Oh, no, Shannon's got the mic, so I'll just give you this one. What do we got first?
Cool. So Kate and Coast to Coast and a bevy of other people all want to know, where do we send the venue hosting agreement?
Patrick?
Great question. And that's definitely one that we've been getting a lot here at OneSpark. So first off, congrats, because that means that you got a venue for OneSpark 2015 because you got that hosting agreement. So kudos to you, and we're super pumped to have you at the festival this year. But you're going to actually, for now, depending on where your venue is, if you have a private venue, such as one of the coffee shops, a bar, restaurant, you're going to actually send that hosting agreement directly to that venue. So use that messaging system that you use to reach out to your venue to secure it as your match, to go back and get some good contact information from them so you can send them that hosting agreement and make sure you're setting your expectations there. Now, if you have a curated venue, go ahead and hold on to that. Go ahead and hold on to that hosting agreement for now, and then OneSpark is going to gather those after the matchmaking process is over. So I hope that answers the question, and I'm going to bring Al back on.
Thanks. Also, while we answer the questions, I want to remind you, you can see below you onespark.com//intro course. That is the link to go to make sure you get a full download of all the course notes, which includes a complete recap of everything we've talked about tonight. All you need to do is enter your name and email address so that we can obviously reach you and send it to you. That's really, really, really important. All right, next question, Shannon.
Great. Kate also wants to know, should we come into OneSpark with a business plan prepared?
Super. Well, I'm going to go ahead and answer that, and I'm also going to ask either Philip or Spring to also jump in. So there's a tool, and there's a number of these, but called Lean Canvas. And Lean Canvas is one of many tools that's out there today that is kind of like a one-page business strategy plan to enable you to get your ideas quickly on paper and then pivot after you validate and then adjust and turn and do what you need to do until you reach your sweet spot with your target audience and your problem and your solution. So I would encourage you to, at a minimum, and have a Lean Canvas or some sort of tool like that. And feel free to Google it at leancanvas.com. You actually get a free 30-day membership, and it's a great, powerful tool. We use it as the foundation for our Creator Foundations course. To your full question of a complete business plan, that's a wonderful thing to have if you have it. The one thing, if you're a brand new startup, is that a lot of companies will sometimes write a voluminous business plan. Don't misinterpret what I'm about to say. I'm not saying don't do a business plan. But they'll go through this big process of a 50-page document that's got layers upon layers of research, only to find out that when they get in front of their customer, they need to change a lot of it. So the theory that's being used a lot in the startup and entrepreneurial world today is use a modified version of that business plan to kind of start talking to your customer right away, and then you start to pivot and adjust and build your plan. However, for OneSpark itself, I would suggest you have a plan and strategy aligned for how you're going to achieve whatever goal it is that you want to achieve. How many people is it going to take? What's the commitment of time? What are the roles? And so on and so forth. I hope that answers your question, Kate.
Cool.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I wanted to bring Dr. Baruz in, too. Yeah. Meredith, go ahead.
Yeah. I just wanted to bring up the potential capital investments piece. If you do get tapped to go ahead and pitch one of those private investors, they will ask you for a business plan. And if you need help with that, there's tons of resources in every city to help you do that. Like locally, we have the Jacks Chamber, the SBDC. You can really Google it and get like small business plan help, and you should be able to find somebody in your area that can help you put that together. And now I'll bring Spring up to add to the conversation.
I pretty much agree with everything that Al and Meredith said. The only thing I would say is be flexible. Definitely do the Lean Canvas. We didn't do it. I actually didn't know about it back then, but it's really useful. But be flexible on it because you're going to get a lot of feedback throughout OneSpark and especially with the investors. As far as doing a 50-page plan, I'm just going to go ahead and say don't do one because it's a waste of your time. Most of the investors don't want a 50-page thing to read through. Be concise. If you really want to be prepared, maybe do a slide deck because that's, if you do get a chance to present in front of the investors, that's what you're going to show them.
Great, and I'm going to beat that drum one more time. These are all things that we cover. I mean, I'd love to do it here, but it'd be a 16-hour course. So, and you don't want to see me in my big old head for 16 hours, trust me. So it's real important that you look at these other courses, because those are the types of things we're going to exactly cover. Shannon?
Great. Gabrielle wants to know if she can use a video in her pitch.
Meredith, you want to handle that one?
Yes, absolutely. You can do that. Just bring it on a USB drive in a format that's easily playable on across all systems. So I think that's a great idea, especially if maybe you're not a great public speaker. And you can always intro, with a video and then speak for a few minutes. So I think that's a great idea.
If you're going to do that, and I'm sorry, what was her name who asked that question?
That was Gabrielle.
Gabrielle, if you're going to do that, make sure you have multiple copies of whatever your video is on. Bring it on a thumb drive, bring it on a DVD, bring multiple copies in the event that there's a technical glitch on your side that you need to replace it. The worst thing you want to have happen is your equipment doesn't work. Even though that some of the stuff is played through OneSpark's equipment, if your thumb drive is defunct or a file gets corrupt, you need to have a backup. And that goes for your business plan or your lean canvas or anything like that. Think multiplicity.
Great. Hey, Coast to Coast wants to know if you'll come say hello to their audience while they live stream from the landing at OneSpark.
Coast to coast. Coast to coast. My Twitter handle's at a cool idea. So hit me up and keep in touch with me, and I'll be glad to come and shout out at you guys. Although you may want to kick me out really quickly. So.
Kate has another question. She said that her idea startup is actually looking for app developers. Would it be wise for her to have applications for them to fill out during OneSpark?
They're looking for app developers. So they're looking to recruit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see any reason why not. I mean, that's actually a great question. That's one of the tools and ways that you can use OneSpark. I always think about, Elton referenced this earlier, right? He talked about who's OneSpark for and how do you leverage OneSpark. Well, last year we had a company, and we always talk about these guys because they're awesome, but they're one of the many awesome companies that was already existing, but they really, really found success, and that is Pratt Guys, right? So Pratt Guys was an organization last year, been in business for 10 years. They were looking to relaunch and rebrand, and they had a sales team, but they were also looking to recruit some other sales folks. So they used OneSpark, not so much about, hey, let's raise all the money and the crowdfund. Let's introduce the world to our new brand, and also let's meet some new sales associates. That's exactly what they did. So I think that's totally appropriate.
Great. So this is the last question we have. It's from Samir, and he didn't say what his project or idea is, but he just wants to know if a project is unsure which category to sign up for at OneSpark, how should they handle something like that?
So I think I'd like to give that to Patrick, and then I think we lost a light. So Patrick, you want to answer that? The question was, if I'm not sure what category to go into, what should I do? And then we'll wrap with this question, and then I'd like to give each of our presenters a chance to throw in a last word.
Thanks, Al. And that's another great question. As you're going through the registration process and you're choosing the category that best fits your project, what we've done is we've included some subcategories within that main category. So for example, if you have an art project, you're going to have subcategories to help define that main category of things like, are you a mural? Is it a sculpture? Is it moving art? Is it performance art? So really utilize those subcategories to help define and choose which project main category you should self-identify with.
Great. We have another question for you. So the studio that Love built wants to know, can we sell our goods during the event, or is that not allowed?
Another good question. They're on point tonight, huh? So you cannot sell items at OneSpark, and you cannot sell any part of your project at OneSpark. But to remedy that this year, what we've done is actually set up the reward structure. And so starting this year at OneSpark 2015, you're actually able to set up a reward structure to incentivize contributors that are walking around the festival looking to contribute to different projects to contribute directly to you and your project. So you can set up to, I believe it's 15 different reward levels, and utilize other crowdfunding platforms as examples of how to set up a reward structure. Kickstarter, Indiegogo, Rocket Hub are all great crowdfunding platforms to utilize. But how it would kind of look is at a very low level example is set up a reward structure of $5 direct contribution and you get a logoed sticker. $10 direct contribution and you get a t-shirt. A $50 contribution gets you 50 high fives. But that's really the essence of how we track direct contributions here at the festival. So make sure all those direct contributions are going through the OneSpark app or online, so you're in the running for that top contributor award. And hopefully that answers your question. Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I would definitely start an email list, and anybody who's interested in hearing updates about your project and when you actually, if you're about to go into production or you're planning that in the next year and they are really interested and want to be able to buy it as soon as it's available, capture all those people's information, capture it electronically or just get their business card, whatever you need to do, and start building that email list for your business, because that could be really, really valuable later on. So I just wanted to add that.
Cool. And on the topic of emails, this isn't directly relevant to that, but it's to you specifically. We'd also highly encourage, you're gonna get a lot of emails from OneSpark, and it's a lot of it's just really critical information that you're gonna need to know. So if you're somebody who gets a lot of emails in general, you might want to consider setting up a separate email just for the festival. Set up whatever account you use or whatever. So that way there's not a lot of other garbage that's coming in or conflicting information, and you end up with, a quarter of the size of the email inbox versus this massive million emails. So set up another email. That could be very, very valuable. Got another question?
Yeah, actually, awesome. Carol here in studio with us has a question.
Awesome.
She wants to know, can existing nonprofit organizations fit really into OneSpark? They need funds to expand training items and classes and things, and maybe even to create a kids training program.
By all means. We have a lot of organizations that are nonprofit status. If you look back at some of them that have been very successful in the past, Rethreaded comes to mind. It was one of our very first winners. They're a nonprofit. Nonprofits, as long as their operating budget is under $1 million, and that goes across the board. There's giggling going on. She's like, we should have that problem. Actually, we wish more nonprofits really utilized and leveraged OneSpark for success because of all the reasons. Let's recap what those reasons are, because I know a lot of people joined fairly late in the game here. There's 4 ways to leverage OneSpark for success. One is to validate a product or an idea. So maybe if you're a nonprofit, you're trying to see how much do people really, really care about this idea. So you can get it tested and get that idea validated and get feedback for that new campaign. What's the threshold that people are willing to give, so on and so forth. Also, market and launch. So if you're a nonprofit or you're an organization that's in that arena, hey, this is a great place to introduce the world to what you're doing. I think of Theater on a Mission last year, one of the big winners. This is a group of kids who wanted to go to Africa to do a theater camp for these poor kids who were living in terrible conditions. Guess what? They did it. They were led by kids. So that's awesome. And then, of course, networking and connecting. If you're an organization that is a nonprofit, or you're starting an art studio or something like that, or you're a musician and you're trying to get connected to other musicians or people that are producers, what a great place to do. What better place to do that than OneSpark? So by all means, yes, to answer your question, this is a great venue for nonprofits as well as small businesses. If you're a small business, you own a dry cleaner, you own bedding shop or something, and you need to get the word out. This is not just for startups, it's for businesses as well, and small businesses. Great. Well, I'd like to ask Philip and Spring to come back for just a second in any order you guys so see fit. Whoever wants to jump in, don't be shy. So Philip, can I borrow that, or can I steal that mic back? We'll give that to Philip. So Philip, you're going to walk away and you're going to go home and you're going to go, man, I'm glad I don't have to prepare for OneSpark again this year except to show up. These folks are going to say, well, whoa, I got this bevy of information. What do I do next? What's your one last piece of advice for folks to walk away with?
You know, I was thinking about this as I was listening to you kind of sum up the topics that we talked about tonight. And I think the one thing that I'd really want to leave people with is be super conscious of your time while you're at your booth. I think we had a question about, can I recruit programmers while I'm in my booth? Absolutely. Probably don't have them standing there filling out an application because it's about, time management. So you can have a lot of people coming through. And this was hard for me, even in a relatively low traffic area like we had, was you're just dealing with a lot of people coming through. And so you really need to develop a feel, just like someone at a trade show or some kind of other public event, how long you need to talk to somebody, what you need to talk to them about, and then you kind of move on to the next person. Because if you get stuck spending 5-10 minutes with each person that comes by, you're really limiting, the breadth of people you talk to.
Sure.
So be prepared to kind of get in that mode and be prepared to cut people off if they're really not interested and they're engaging with you on some other topic that you're not there to talk about. Don't feel bad about it. Think of it as how the best use of your time. And as you move through the people, it'll get very natural. You'll bring different people in the conversation. But kind of be ready to be in that moment and be someone who speaks to a whole lot of people for a very long period of time, and how to get through that real
That's
quickly.
terrific. You bring up so many salient points. There's no apology for trying to talk to as many people as possible. Great advice, Philip. Thank you very, very much.
Absolutely, Al. Thanks for inviting me on.
You got it. Bring in spring. And to that point, a lot of the training about the lean canvas and your unique value proposition helps set the foundation for that. And then we talk actually in the Pitchcraft class, which you were there for that because you did such a great pitch about how you tell your story, and the more often you tell your story, the easier it gets. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to ask you the same question, Spring. I mean, what is your one piece of advice that you'd want people to walk away with? You can give 50, but we'll give 1.5.
Yeah, 1.5. So the first thing is, be really prepared, run your pitch by as many people as possible, and then we used a lot of different tools to help us convey what we were trying to say. We used animations. Somebody asked if they could use a video. I would absolutely encourage it. Pictures, just tell a story. Don't just get up there and tell, just pitch, tell a story. And then of course, kind of look and see what how people are feeling about it. And then also I can't give just one piece. Size up the person that you're speaking with to know what type of person they are. Are they an investor? Are they somebody who's just there, having fun? Mm-hmm. Because what you tell them, the story you tell them is going to be different.
Sure.
So that's my 1.5 piece.
Awesome.
Thank you, Al.
All right, and you'll see Spring hopefully at one of our other workshops. Thank you very much. So there's the information to go get your download for courses. Before you leave, I want to close with this comment, and this goes to the folks that weren't maybe on the front end of this, and that is again that OneSpark is amazing, and you're going to say in many ways, I've never worked this hard in my life. And that's true. This is a gauntlet. But there's an avenue for you to be prepared. And there's something to learn for everybody at varying levels and in varying different categories. So I'd ask you to say, hey, listen, is 2 hours worth my time to get ahead of the pack? Is a full day, 1 day worth my time to get ahead of the pack? We don't say that because we just want to go ahead and sell tickets to the classes, to the course and stuff. The bottom line is this will make a difference in what you do. I guarantee you that. And I feel comfortable saying I guarantee that because we've seen it happen. The people that help with the Creator Academy are passionate about helping you. They're giving of their time. They're experts. They've tripped, fallen, failed, gotten up and picked back up and moved on. So they understand what it's like to be you. And that's really, really important. So whatever you choose to do over the course of the next months on your journey towards the Spark at OneSpark, we wish you the best of luck. For tonight, go to onespark.com/intro course. That's where you can get the download for all the notes. Also, visit onespark.com and go to the Creator Academy page. Don't wait till tomorrow to get registered. Do it tonight. Put it on your calendar. And I hope to be shaking your hand as you cross the finish line. On behalf of Brent and Shannon and Meredith and Patrick and Elton and anybody else that's part of the Academy, have a great night. Thank you and good luck. Peace.
And they all got the same heartbeat, but hers is falling behind. Nothing in this world could ever bring them down. Yeah, they're invincible, and she's just in the background. And she says, I wish that I could be like the cool kids, 'cause all the cool kids, they seem to fit in. I wish that I could be like the cool kids, like the cool kids. He says I'm talking with a big smile, but they haven't got a clue. Yeah, they're living the good life, can't see what he is going